Hi, Mark Mussina here. I want to welcome you into NorthcentralPA.com's Roundtable. As we know, as we've read on social media and we hear people talking, well, first of all, sports fans are really struggling. Not that all of society is not struggling with boredom and being, quarantined and social distancing and having your kids stuck home all day, but sports fans especially, because we have nothing to watch at night. And we're watching replays from NBA finals from 2003 and baseball games from 1995, and we also see on Facebook that people are asking, what should I watch on Netflix? I'm looking for things to watch. So what we've done here is collected some of the greatest sports minds you will ever see, and we're going to help you out. We're going to give you a short list of sports movies that have maybe you've forgotten about, maybe you never heard of, or kind of some that flew under the radar that you can dig out on Netflix, or you can find them on YouTube or somewhere that kind of helps you pass the time here through this social distancing and while you're being stuck at home. We're not going to the classics. We're not pulling out Hoosiers and Caddyshack and The Natural and Slapshot and things like those. Those are obviously legendary, and if you haven't seen those, then you got bigger problems and we can't help you. But here we're going to go a little deeper, maybe some underrated or back of the rack ones. And so first I want to bring in the panel here. We got a local hoops legend, Jeff Everett, and we've also got Pulitzer Prize winning. Did you win any? Have you won any awards here? Doc Masse from the Sun Gazette. Masse, what's the biggest award you've won?
Greatest sports writer of all time.
Is that you have won that?
I've 18 times in a row.
All right,
I've gotten a lot of Keystone Press awards from statewide recognition.
Is that one that like your mom can vote for, or did you earn that one?
That's one that where they accept bribes.
All right, that's good. All right, so we're going to start out. Again, we're going like back of the rack, underrated, maybe undervalued. So Jeff, we'll start with you. What do you got?
All right, so my first one, definitely undervalued, Finding Forrester. It's a movie about a kid who's basically trying to get through a private school, really good basketball player. It's a writing movie. It's more of a drama. However, in college, I was an English major and I played basketball. So for me, it's right up my alley. It's not high action. It's more about relationships. It's more about kind of growing up. So if you're looking for kind of a slower paced drama, and if you like Sean Connery, this is Sean Connery like in his gray heyday. So Finding Forrester would be my first pick.
See, I love Finding Forrester. That's a great call because it's not about basketball, but it's around a basketball player. But yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about. Sean Connery's in it. The guy who directed that actually was the guy who directed Good Will Hunting, and Matt Damon makes a cameo late in it. But very good job, Jeff. Out of the gate there, 1 for 1. Masse, did you ever see Finding Forrester?
I did. Very good movie. I like that selection. Good basketball. Right, good basketball action in it. Really good performances. Anna Paquin's underrated in it.
Yeah, she was a little kid in that movie.
Yeah. F. Murray Abraham, I think, won an Oscar for Amadeus. He's the jerk-off teacher in it, and he plays the role very well.
Yes, he does. He is the villain very well.
And there's not a lot of basketball scenes, but the ones that are in it are real. Like you can tell the actors and the people in the movie, they're actual basketball players. So worthwhile.
Yeah, that's a very good call. Finding Forrester. That's very good. All right, Masse, you're up.
All right, I got a good one for you. Hardball with Keanu Reeves. I think Mark will be a big fan of it. Inner city, he's a gambler. He's got some debt issues, and I think his somebody organizes gets him to coach a little league team, and it's basically the Bad News Bears comes to the inner city. Movie that makes you cry when without giving it away, something bad happens towards the end, but a happy ending at the end with the team triumphing over evil.
Triumphing? Is that how you ended that? Jeff, have you seen this movie?
Not a talker.
Not only have I seen this movie, when I was 14, this was the first movie I ever cried at the end of a movie. So this had some feeling to it.
I've seen half of this movie. I stumbled across it once on HBO. I saw the last half of it, and I didn't cry because I didn't have to watch the whole thing. This movie sucks.
Oh,
I
my
can't
goodness.
believe that this is your pick, Massey.
Yeah, you must be a communist or something if you don't think this movie's good.
This movie is not good.
Come
I
on.
don't know. Maybe people should check it out and they can see if I'm wrong or not.
I think you need to watch the whole thing.
I think
That's the problem. You're only
I-
picking it up at the
I
end.
agree with you. This wasn't the Bad News Bears goes to the inner city. This was the Bad News Bears goes to crap. Is what this movie was not very good.
Now, the Bad News Bears did that as soon as they went to Houston and to Japan and wherever else they went.
I don't know.
Underrated soundtrack for Hardball as well.
Oh
Yeah.
dear God. All right, moving right along. My first one is a more well-known but underappreciated. Rocky Balboa, which is the last one of the Rocky segments before we got into the creeds, and it's the only Rocky that didn't have a number except the original one. And he probably, instead of numbering it Rocky 6, he probably got away from the numbers because Rocky 5 was so god awful. So. And I think what happened is, 3 was really fun with Clubber Lang and Hulk Hogan, and then 4 was fun because you beat the Russians, and then 5 was so bad that they wanted to kind of make you forget that 5 ever happened, so they got rid of it. But Rocky Balboa, he's got some original characters. Spider Rico makes a return. The little girl on the street, I can't think of her name. Masse, help me out.
Little Marie.
If you've never seen Rocky Balboa because you thought it was kind of a way that, how good can part 6 be? Part 6 is fantastic.
I agree 100%. This is a great movie. In the whole series, it's the second best. It's the best after the original one because it gets back to what made the original one so good. And Paulie's at his best. Spider Rico, as you mentioned. And the best part about it, no Adrian. Yeah, I mean, Little Marie is who Rocky should have been with the whole time. Fighters fight is what she tells him.
Yes.
Not, you can't win, don't do it. Shut up, Adrian. We've had enough of it.
The worst part of the Rocky saga was like Adrian. It was like she didn't want him to fight. Adrian, what else is he gonna do? He's a blockhead. Like he can do one thing in life.
Yeah.
He can do two things. He can throw punches and he can block punches with his face. And that's all Rocky did.
Yes.
Rocky Balboa is an incredibly underrated movie. If you've never seen it, go ahead. All right, round 2. Jeff, what do you got?
So for round 2, I don't know if this one's a back of the rack, but I think it's a little underappreciated. I think for most people, it's like a solid B, but it's one that I would put like in my top 3, and that's The Fighter. If you haven't seen The Fighter, Mark Wahlberg, it's a story about the boxer of Mickey Ward. Christian Bale gives my favorite performance all time in a sports movie, playing Ward's older brother, who was also a boxer. It is absolutely fantastic. Again, I don't think it's one of those movies that people haven't heard of, but I do think it's underappreciated.
I would agree. The Fighter is one of the best movies you'll ever see. Christian Bale won Academy Award. Not just, you just mentioned Mark Wahlberg and Christian Bale, but Amy Adams is great. The lady that plays Mark Wahlberg's mom, who I can't remember her name, but you hate this one. You want to reach through the screen and choke this woman by the end of it. I think she got nominated. I don't know if she won or not, and it's essentially a true story. I'm not sure how much of it's stretched, but most of it's true. And The Fighter is fantastic.
Yeah, that's a good call. And like you said, whoever played the mom in that, I think she won the Oscar, but she's like plays the Adrian role where you want to strangle her, but for different reasons. Then you want to strangle Adrian, just because she's pure evil in this movie, but she plays it really well. And that's an all-star cast, gritty. Really like it.
I didn't ever want to strangle Adrian. I just wanted to just stop.
Well, no, I'm not condoning that, but you want to yell at her.
No, this lady you want to strangle. The Fighter's a fantastic movie. That if you haven't seen The Fighter, you should watch that one tonight.
I was gonna say there's a couple of fighting scenes in it that like are a little frozen, and you wonder how they got into the movie. But Wahlberg as like the underdog, outgrind boxer is like perfect for that role. It is, in my opinion, it's top 3 sports movie ever.
Head, body, head.
That's right.
That's all you need.
I want that couch.
I want that couch. He's been sitting on the couch. All right, Massey, round 2. What do you got?
All right. This is a great high school football movie, the best in my opinion, and not for the reason that Mark's going to say, but All the Right Moves with Tom Cruise. Beautifully done, captures what high school football means to, whether it's coal country, steel country, wherever. I think it captures what it means to the community and how some people live and die with it. And the players kind of live and die with it. It's the dead end town, and he's trying to get out of it. Suspend disbelief, because you got to accept the fact that Tom Cruise, all 5'6" of them, 140 pounds of them, is a Division I quarterback / safety. If you get past that, it's a great movie.
I would agree. That's the tough part to get past. That Tom Cruise is a football prospect at USC. That Pete Carroll.
That's his friend that's going to USC.
Who his friend's going? Where was he getting looked at?
Steph was getting looked at by Syracuse. He eventually goes to Cal Poly.
Oh, okay.
With Nickerson, the high school coach.
Yeah. Now he's played by Coach, so he was great.
Huh?
It is. I'll give you it's a really good movie. The reason Massey likes it, which he won't mention, is because Leah Thompson is naked in it. And
that's a bonus.
It is Leah Thompson, who's famous for being Marty McFly's girlfriend. Massey, I want to ask you this. Why do you think, in looking back at this, he's the football hero and his girlfriend wasn't the cheerleader? She was in the band. I wonder why they went with that They went away from the stereotype. Instead of the hot cheerleader girlfriend, they went with the hot band girlfriend. You got a thought on that?
No, that's a good question. I've never really thought about it. And because his friend, the one that's going to USC, his girlfriend's one is basically the head cheerleader. So it's interesting. It's an interesting theory.
But
and one other thing, where the Tom Cruise, you got to get past the fact that he's a Division I player. You also got to get past the fact that Ampipe, who he plays for, is supposed to be this huge underdog when they've got at least 6 major Division I recruits on the team.
Yeah,
They should be pretty good. They shouldn't be an underdog against anybody.
No, that's a very valid point. I never thought of that. But yeah, you get 6 Division I recruits on a Pennsylvania high school football team, you're not an underdog.
Yeah, you should be pretty good.
Yeah, I would think. All right, the last one I got, this is way back of the rack. I think this was an HBO made one. It's called Rebound, The Legend of Earl Manigault. If you don't know, Earl Manigault was a street ball legend from New York City back in the day. And I guess the best way, the cast is good. Don Cheadle plays Earl Manigault. Forrest Whitaker's in it. But the best way to describe this guy, if you've never heard of him, when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, on his last year in the NBA, he was one of the first guys that did kind of like a retirement tour. He announced before the season was over that this was going to be it. So everywhere they went, they gave him rocking chairs and, they gave him prizes and presents and things like that. And somewhere along this trip, a reporter asked Kareem who was the toughest basketball player he ever went up against. And, he didn't say Moses Malone. He didn't say Larry Bird. He didn't name, Clyde Frazier. He didn't name any of these guys. He said Earl Manigault. And this is a guy who played, in the John Wooden era at UCLA. Then he played 20 years in the NBA. So if Kareem's picking this guy as the best player he ever went up against, he must have been pretty good. Now, it's sad. It's obviously not triumphant because this guy didn't, turn out heroic. It wasn't like The Rookie or anything where this guy comes out of nowhere and makes it. So, but it is a real life, hard hitting, sad story about inner city basketball and arguably the greatest basketball player that we've never heard of.
Yeah, that's one I'd like to see. I haven't seen it, but it sounds like a great story. Obviously it's not just a story; it's true. But when Kareem says you're the best he's ever seen, that's a pretty darn good indicator that this guy must have been the real deal, because Kareem's played against some ballers in his day.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either. How much does it follow the true story, Mark?
I think it's pretty true. Because it was just right. The guy, he got into drugs. It was one of these. It was back, when Kareem was young. So I'm going to say it's in the 60s. And just didn't have, you see the story about like Texas Western with Don Haskins, who was kind of like this visionary coach who, and this guy didn't get one of these visionary coaches. This guy got one who didn't appreciate what he had, and he tried to pound him into a system. And he did get into a college, but it didn't work out very well. And he ended up going back home and on the streets and ended up with, drug issues. But it's a really sad. It's sad, but it's awesome in the same way. And so if you've never heard, I don't know where you're gonna find it. I don't know if I had to order it and I bought the DVD. But if you search YouTube or I can't believe it's on Netflix. I think HBO made it originally, but now during this quarantine, I know people are making access to they're giving access to movies and stuff that we haven't seen or you hadn't been able to get before. So look for it, find it. But that's one. If you go dig it up, especially if you're a basketball fan, it's certainly worth watching.
I second that. I'm going to try to find it as long as I don't have to pay for it because I'm cheap.
Well, I could give it to you, but I can't get within 6 feet of you. So I could throw it to you, but you drop it.
I got good hands.
I'll throw it to your daughter. Maybe she'll catch it.
Yeah, she's got good hands too. We're fast in the Masse family. We're not big.
All right. Well, that's all we got for tonight. We want to thank you for tuning in as we're just doing our part here, trying to help you through the times. Thank you to Jeff. Thank you to Doc Masse here is the Sun Gazette legend. We want to thank them for loaning you out and you helping us get through this. And maybe here in a couple days we'll show up and we'll put our heads together and come up with some more movies for you guys to watch to help this through. Because I don't know, they just canceled school. We may be sitting in our house for a long time. So we're here to help and we'll see what we can do. So thank you guys for joining me and thank you people for tuning in, and we'll do it again real soon.